Hello there, friends. It's Jimmy Maverick. Welcome to another edition of the Fantasy Maverick podcast. And today we are going to talk about the craziness of Week 4. And, of course, more injuries, more players that you need to know about to pick up for the waiver wire. I got some names for you here. You definitely want to check this out. So here we go.
Listen up. It's time for the Fantasy Maverick podcast, starring the guy who's going to help you win that fantasy championship, Jimmy Maverick.
Hey, how you doing out there, everybody? It's Jimmy Maverick coming at you from the Fantasy Maverick podcast in Santa Fe, New Mexico. And today we're going to talk about waiver wire pickups. For me, I am filming this on Monday, so I have not yet seen the Monday night games. But we do have, obviously, another week of pretty bad injuries. Nick Chubb, probably going to miss up to 6 weeks. Austin Eckler on IR, so that means he's out at least 3 weeks. So that does open up opportunities for other players, so you definitely want to check out what I'm going to be talking about in just a few minutes about waiver wire targets that you should look at. Also, next week, Detroit and Green Bay are on a bye, so that's a lot of fantasy talent that's gone. Like this past week with not having the Steelers and Tennessee, that really hurt a lot of people's teams, not having them unexpectedly. So anyway, they are on Detroit and Green Bay on a bye next week, so you're going to need to get replacements for that. And as far as quarterbacks go, I'm maintaining my position that you do not need to roster a second quarterback. There are always great quarterbacks available on the waiver wire. I'm going to give you an example, 3 examples actually this past week. For week 4, Justin Herbert, 16% rostered. He got 28 points. Teddy Bridgewater, 19% rostered. He got 27 points. Sam Darnold, 9% rostered. He got 25 points. Okay, there's always going to be great quarterbacks available on the waiver wire. The only people that need to pick up a quarterback are if you have Matthew Stafford or if you have Aaron Rodgers. Why am I drawing a blank on his name? I can't believe I did that. But, as far as matchups this week, again, Teddy Bridgewater gets to play Atlanta. I'd pick him up. Justin Herbert gets to play the Saints. Saints are one of the most generous defenses to opposing quarterbacks. He's a great choice. Daniel Jones gets to play Dallas. Dallas can't stop anybody. Those are 3 great guys to pick up. But again, the quarterback, there's no quarterbacks that are injured right now. Cam Newton might miss week 5. It depends on how he goes with the protocol. So he might be someone that you need to pick up for. But there's 3 great options for you for week 5. Look for those guys if you need a quarterback. Now, going into the regular list, I got running backs for you here. We're going to start out with some ones that are looking really good. I'm not sure if I would start them yet. But Chase Edmonds, Arizona's running back, he has seen increasing role in his position on the team. And for some inexplicable reason, they're giving Chase Edmonds a lot of targets. They gave him 6 targets. And whereas they're not giving Kenyon Drake any. I don't know what's going on there. Kenyon Drake has been baffling this season. I do not understand why he's being so underutilized in the offense. But right now the momentum is with Chase Edmonds, so he's absolutely worth a roster slot right now. I would not start him yet because last week, again, 4 touches, 6 targets. That's kind of below my 15 threshold for running backs, but certainly his position is growing, and he is more effective than Drake is for sure. Another one to consider, another pickup you need to target due to the Eckler injury. You got Justin Jackson, who is right now one of only 2 healthy running backs on that roster. Eckler going to be out at least 3 weeks. He's on IR. He's got a hamstring and knee injury going on right now. And Joshua Kelly, frankly, has been struggling. He's been fumbling. He's been ineffective when he's on the field. So this is a perfect opportunity for Jackson to do something, which he has not done anything so far. So, he's only 5% rostered. He's very likely probably available on your waiver wire. I would definitely pick him up. There's certainly nothing lost by picking him up. Another one that will benefit from the Chubb injury is D'Ernest Johnson from Cleveland. Chubb says he'll be sidelined up to 6 weeks, and this really hurts my team, man. I think I got 3 teams with Chubb on it, so that's really going to hurt me. I'm definitely going to make a big play to get this guy on those teams. Now, of course, Kareem Hunt's going to be the lead guy. We know that already. And Kareem Hunt can handle a full workload. He is that kind of back, but this Cleveland team is a run-first team, and they're going to want fresh legs in there. They're going to want to utilize the 2 running back set. D'Ernest Johnson had 13 touches in the final 3 quarters of that game last week after Chubb went out. So that means he's very probably going to be getting over 15 touches. That's my threshold for starting a player in the flex position. And so the only issue with D'Ernest Johnson is he does have a bad matchup this next week. Indianapolis, one of the top teams against the run, actually one of the top defenses in the league, certainly very good. Top to bottom, they're good against the quarterback. They're good against running backs. They're good against wide receivers. They're good against tight ends. So it's not a great matchup, but chances are if you're like me, you got Chubb in there, you're going to need to get someone else. D'Ernest Johnson certainly is a good choice. Another one that I think, again, will benefit as long as Christian McCaffrey is out is Reggie Bonifan from Carolina. He was just promoted from the practice squad and immediately got 10 touches and 2 targets in week 4. So that volume is below my threshold of 15, but I think he's absolutely worth a pickup. And, let's see here. If you're desperate, for a running back, I think he's a great choice, especially if, you've got Aaron Jones or, you've got maybe Adrian Peterson or something like that, because those guys aren't playing this week. Finally, for running backs, we can look at J.D. Mckissick of Washington. Great option for PPR leagues. Now, he only had 2 carries in week 4, but he got 8 targets. And that's pretty darn good. He caught 7 targets for 40 yards. That's why I say a great option for PPR. They're using him primarily in screen passes, and that usage should continue against the Rams in week 5. So I think he's definitely worth a pickup. And all these guys, they are risky to start, but I think in the flex position, it's a limited level of risk. And especially if you are lacking because you've got so many injuries on your team, which a lot of teams are dealing with right now. It's not just you, man. Everybody is dealing with a lot of injuries this year. It is a tough year for fantasy. Let's go to wide receivers then. So wide receivers, a couple of guys that you want to look at. And even though I hate the team and I hate the coach, Jeff Smith of the New York Jets is available. He was activated off of IR for week 4. He promptly went out and got 9 targets. This receiving core, as far as the Jets is concerned, has been devastated with injuries, and so there's not a lot of targets there. Crowder's also there, but he turned those 9 targets into 7 catches and 81 yards. Fantastic. 0% owned in fantasy leagues, so he is definitely available on your waiver wire. I also like Zac Pascal of Indianapolis, who certainly has a role with both Pittman and Campbell being out. He got 8 targets on Sunday, and he turned that into 3 catches for 58 yards. So, like I said, he's worth a shot in PPR leagues, but he is a low floor option because you're not sure exactly how many catches he's going to make out of whatever volume he gets. On to Las Vegas, we got Hunter Renfro. Hunter Renfro, another beneficiary of a very injured receiving core. There's not a lot of receiving options available outside of Renfro and Waller, right? So anyway, he got 8 targets last week. He turned it into 5 catches for 57 yards. Again, it should be a high volume of passing against Kansas City. A lot of catch-up work. That plays into the wide receiver role. So I think he's going to be a great option, especially for PPR. A guy I talked about last week, still available. He's still only 19% rostered, but Greg Ward of the Philadelphia Eagles, he appears to be the top target on this team. He got 7 targets on Sunday, more than Zach Ertz. That was really kind of surprising for me to see. And it was a tough matchup against San Francisco, but he did get 4 catches for 38 yards. The matchup against the Steelers, another really tough matchup, but he'll get the volume if you really need a starter. So I think he's worth picking up, and I think he's going to have usage beyond week 5 as well. So that's something to consider. Tim Patrick of the Denver Broncos. Again, another team devastated by injuries, especially in the receivers. Now you got Hamler and Font out, along with Sutton already gone for the year. Patrick got 7 targets on Thursday night's game. He turned it into 6 catches for 113 yards and a touchdown. That's fantastic. He's got a nice connection with Ripon, and what you kind of see here is because Ripon was the backup, kind of the backup to the backup. He was playing with guys like Tim Patrick in practices, playing with the second and third team. So they have a nice connection. It's kind of like the same thing that Minshew had with Chark, because neither one of those guys were on the first team. But then when Minshew took over in week 1 of last year, he immediately had a great connection with Chark, boosted both their values. So anyway, Tim Patrick is a great option to look at on the waiver wire. I also like Scotty Miller, Tampa Bay. Chris Godwin, injured. O.J. Howard, gone for the year. Evans is dealing with a hamstring injury. I think it's a hamstring injury or it's a knee injury. So there's a lot of injuries. Scotty Miller did great with Tom Brady. He got 7 targets, turned it into 5 catches for 83 yards and a touchdown, only 16% owned. He is a volatile option, but again, absolutely worth picking up. And a guy I like from my alma mater, Laviska Shenault, who has been doing great, seeing an increasing role each week. I really like that. His volume is kind of below my threshold for wide receiver. 1 carry and 6 targets. So that's a little light. That's a little risky to start, but he's absolutely worth rostering on your bench with anticipation that he will grab a larger role. He turned those 6 targets into 4 catches, and he got 91 scrimmage yards. So that's really good. And he was making some tough catches out there. I don't know if you guys watched that game, but really, really nice. So I got to say, he's absolutely worth rostering in your league. I wouldn't start him yet, but, again, never stop improving your team. That's my philosophy with fantasy football. With tight ends, we do have some nice options here that you can consider. Dalton Schultz of Dallas is still available on like 50% of the leagues. He's only 52% owned, so he is about a 50-50 shot. He'll be on your waiver wire. But he's been great since Jarwin went down with an injury. He's had 10 targets, 6 targets, and 8 targets. Obviously, Dallas is just, an offensive explosion type team. He seems to be the wide receiver 3 on this team, which is actually very encouraging. A decent, he's got a decent target share, and the complete inability of the Dallas defense to do anything. And just the high scoring potential of this offense week in and week out, it's perfect. That is perfect for fantasy. That's absolutely what you want. Dalton Schultz, I pick him up and I would start him over a lot of existing tight ends out there right now. So he's really good. Jimmy Graham is also available in a ton of leagues, and he had a really disappointing week 4. Again, it was a tough matchup. That Indy defense is for real. He only got 5 targets in week 4, so that's really not enough for me to want to start him. But and week 5, he's got Tampa Bay, so that's not good either. But I think he's worth rostering if you want a little depth, a little insurance against your starting tight end. I think he's a good choice. He is getting a lot of red zone looks, which is important. I think that will translate into a lot of, that'll translate into an above average touchdown total against what his expected volume is. So that's really good. And here's one that I was downplaying last week, but you know what? He might be worth a pickup here, but Rob Gronkowski of Tampa Bay, with the season-ending injury to O.J. Howard, that means there's only 2 tight ends now. That kind of tightens up how many targets can go to each. It's not a high-volume option here. He got 7 targets 2 weeks ago, but he only got like 3 targets last week. Not a startable asset at this time, but I think he's worth rostering again, just as kind of an insurance play. Cameron Brate's not really a durable player either, so if Brate gets injured, then he's going to be the only game in town for the tight end. That could portend to, a decent level of volume, but he's not. Gronk isn't doing much right now, so he would be only a choice if I'm really super desperate to get a second tight end, to kind of back up my main tight end. And I usually don't roster a second tight end, so that's where I'm at with Gronk. But he is worth a look. And finally, for defense, we've got some nice streams for week 5 that you should consider. The first one is Arizona, who gets to play the Jets, and that should be very good for the defense. This is, they did have a horrid game against Carolina, but I think this will be a bounce back game for the defense. The defense was good for the first couple of weeks, but past 2 weeks they've been kind of terrible. But that is certainly worth a look at. They're only about 50% rostered, so easy to get. Also, Dallas is playing the Giants. And, the Giants offensively are just DOA. They cannot get anything done. They might be able to get things done against this Dallas defense, but, there's been a lot of injuries to Dallas. They don't have Barkley. They don't have Sterling Shepard, right? So anyway, I think if you really need a streaming defense, I think Dallas is a decent choice. Also, Houston gets Jacksonville at home. Houston at 0-4, just the whole season's getting flushed down the toilet. But I don't think that they played any conference games yet. So if that's the case, then Jacksonville's in conference. That gives them the motivation. That offense is problematic. Minshew's throwing some interceptions. There's some turnovers there. So there could be potential for points here. So I think Houston is also worth a look as a defensive streamer for week 4. So that's it, man. So I'm just I'm working on it, and I'm looking, and I'm hoping that things go well tonight for Monday Night Football with the 2 games that are being played. I still have a lot of players that need to play, including Patrick Mahomes. So hopefully things go well for me tonight. I do have a couple of games locked up as victories, but it was a tough week. The injury to Chubb really hurt a lot of my teams because he only got like 4.8 points before he went out. That was tough. Eckler going out. I only have one share of Eckler, but that definitely hurt that team. So anyway, just got to deal with it. There's nothing you can do about injuries once they happen during the season. It's just it's just good old-fashioned luck, man. Sometimes you have good luck, sometimes you have bad, but keep fighting, keep hanging in there because you can still rebound, okay? I've seen teams go from the bottom third. If you are in that situation where you only have 1 win or 0 wins, you just keep playing. You just keep picking up players. You make some trades. Go out and make some trades this week, okay? That's what you should do. Look at other teams that are not doing very well. They're going to be very motivated to try to trade stuff and improve their team. So again, your goal, look for something that will improve both your team and their team. Where are you strong? And is that where they're weak? And are they strong where you're weak? Can you make a trade where both you guys end up better? Which is what you want. That's what you want in fantasy football. So anyway, good luck in week 5. I'm going to be back on Thursday with Swami. We'll be looking at the matchups and the starts and sits. So again, another crazy week in the NFL. Not as crazy as week 3. It seemed to calm down a little bit. I'm sure the fact that Tennessee and Pittsburgh didn't play kind of helped that a bit. But still, a lot of huge performances. I mean, OBJ, Dak Prescott, he's going gonzo every single week. It doesn't seem like anybody can stop him from doing anything, which is kind of weird because the Dallas defense can't stop anybody from doing anything either. So we'll see what happens. But anyway, good luck in week 5. Go look for these guys on the waiver wire. And also just check to see who's there. I always check like before the waivers open up. I always check and I put in my bids and stuff. But then after the trades happen, I always go in to see who's available. Last week I picked up TJ Hawkinson. Someone had dropped him onto the waiver wire. I went in and picked him up. It's a beautiful thing when that happens. So check it out. Once the waiver wire is clear, there's going to be a bunch of players that are going to be dropped, especially because the bye weeks are starting now. So that also adds to the thing. And people, they just don't have enough room on their bench to hold all the players along with their bench players and their injured players and everything else. So definitely you got to check it out. Every Wednesday morning, you should just go onto the waiver wire and just see who's there. And if there's somebody good, just grab them. All right. So anyway, good luck, everybody. Have yourself a great fantasy football week 5, and we'll see how it goes. And I'll see you guys on Thursday with Swami Rob.